What's the weirdest thing that you've seen at someone's house that they thought was completely normal? When I was 10 I was at my best friend's house and his mom told him to go do a chore or something and he said no. I was completely shocked and just blurted out, "You're allowed to say no? Full stop." A couple days later he was mad at me because his mom wouldn't take no for an answer anymore and would say, "Well, Yurist's parents don't let him say no." Someone keeping chips and snacks in the dishwasher because they never use it. Edit. They were white Americans, but they had lived in Korea for several years. Apparently the story for them is they'd used the wrong soap for the dishwasher once, and the resulting mess freaked them out so much they decided to never use it again. Guy across the street from me had his eye removed, as well as a kidney, both in formaldehyde filled jars on his mantle. Okay, that's pretty badass. I went to a sleepover when I was about 10. The mom came out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around her waist. She stood there and talked to all the kids with her tits out. Her son seemed to be used to it. Everyone else was like, "Something like this happened to me." Except it was my friend's college-age sister. I went over to Zach's house all the time. I once made the mistake in 2004 of accepting an invite to the weird kid at school's house because he said he had just bought GTA San Andreas. This kid's parents would openly spit on the floor carpet of their house. But that wasn't the worst part. Their toilet was broken. And when I told him I needed to go, he directed me to his backyard where his dad had dug a 4-foot deep hole where him and his family defecated. Needless to say I chose to wait until I got home. But did he actually have GTA San Andreas? Open house. Palace of a home. Marble countertops. Breathtaking country view. 5,000 square feet of luxury. Master bedroom was about 30 x 30 feet with king size bed on one side. At the foot of the bed, terrace, the room was a raised section of floor about 6 x 6 feet in size. One step higher than the rest of the room. In the center of that podium was just one thing. A toilet. No master bathroom. Just a throne on a podium to perch upon while, I presume, your spouse offers words of encouragement and enthusiastic applause. Edit. Interesting to learn this has been seen in other cities. For those asking, it was in the suburbs of Toronto, Canada. Rich people with fetishes get tea done. 4-5 litter boxes overflowing with cat tea. The worst part is that he only has one cat. He dedicated an entire room to be filled with cat tea and piss, and apparently, instead of emptying the litter boxes, he just bought new ones. Edit. In 5th grade I spent the night at my friend's house for her birthday. I was supposed to sleep on the couch, but there was a dried dog turd on the cushion. I told her mom and she said to just turn the cushion over. I flipped it and there was another dried turd on the other side. I called my mom crying, but wouldn't tell her why because the mom was standing there. My mom thought I was just homesick so she refused to pick me up. I told her the next morning and she felt terrible. Went to my friend's house in middle school and her family computer was in the living room and her dad had animated naked girls dancing on the desktop. You mean her dad had spyware? My daughter's friend lives in complete squalor. It's shocking. I can't imagine living like that. It's really sad. I gave her a set of cream colored sheets a few years ago, and my daughter snapped a pic when she was out of the room to show me. The sheets are now dark brown. Seriously. I may have caused this in someone else. My family had a party, and we were dumping out the ice from our cooler after on our grass. The little neighbor girls, about 5 years old or so, came over and asked what were we doing. My dad and I look at each other, purposefully put on a confused face. Then I turn to the girls and say, "You two don't ice your grass?" One sheepishly responds, "No." My dad finishes with, "Oh, that's weird." And that was the end of that conversation. I wonder how long I messed up those girls' perception of lawn care. Having absolute no soap whatsoever. They believed water could do the job. And soap was society lies. My house. until I moved out of the house as a young man. I always thought grilled cheese sandwiches were made with a clothes iron heating the sandwich between sheets of aluminum foil. Those were some flat AF grilled cheese sandwiches. One of my buddies tried to make me a grilled sandwich by toasting 2 slices of bread and then microwaved the bread with cheese for a minute. Old lady in assisted living had at least 100 antique toasters stacked and packed everywhere in her 500 square feet unit. On my way out she gave my co-worker and I a warm and sure shake and practically implored that I go to Goodwill and check out their toasters. My great-grandmother was very good at fixing things. It disgusted her that people would throw out things like toasters when they would be so easy to rewire or whatever was needed to fix the problem. She would constantly buy broken toasters at yard sales and fix them. The problem was, how many working toasters do you need? But it was the principle. She was pretty awesome, despite having too many toasters. Naked portrait of their mom in their dining room. I was on the opposite end of this. I had a friend over once and he stuck his hand out and leaned on the wall. And I gently pushed his arm down and said, "Don't touch that." He was like, "Dut? What? The wall?" I said, "Yeah. Don't touch the walls. You'll leave fingerprints on it." I got a dumbstruck stare in return. And it was at that moment that I realized how strange it was that I grew up in a house where we were not allowed to touch the walls. Okay. So I also grew up in a don't touch the walls house and I didn't think that was weird until this moment. To this day I don't touch walls. Communal butt sponge. Like instead of toilet paper. I refuse to believe this is real. I was at a friend's house party once while his family was away. I got told I could sleep in his mom's bed with my girlfriend. In his mom's room there was a chest freezer next to the bed. Out of sheer curiosity I wondered why the FCK someone would need a freezer in their room. Turns out it's to store loads of loaves of bread. Like 20 of the bastards. With FCK. They actually used their treadmill for exercise instead of as a clothes rack like the rest of humanity. When visiting my buddy's college off-campus house he had a plethora of snacks in his bathroom. That's just good planning. When I was a kid, I went over to a friend from church's house. His mom was hella obese and didn't get up out of her armchair the whole time. The place was pretty messy as you'd expect from an 8-year-old and a single mom who could barely walk. But overall it wasn't that bad. The weirdness. She had 2 little dogs. Like terriers of some kind. Little hyper yippy bastards. She kept a box of dog treats just on the ground. Open. On its side. With the treats spilling out and within easy reach of the dogs. Thing is, they wouldn't actually go for the treats until she gave them permission as a reward. And they were super excited to get them. Like dogs normally are when they get one. It was the weirdest thing. They weren't trained in any other way, except basic housebreaking. But I would be shocked if those dogs went for the treats when everyone was sleeping and there was no one around to notice. She trained them to only get treats on command so she wouldn't have to get up to give them treats. This one is the reverse. Being my friend at my house. When I was little, my grandmother would give me Pop-Tarts for breakfast sometimes. She always put butter on them and growing up like that, I never thought anything of it. She gave them to us one time when my friend slept over. And he thought it was the weirdest tea ever. He still butters his Pop-Tarts to this day though. You're welcome. Mothefka. I didn't see this in person. But my apartment building and the 2 attached units were for sale and there was an open house. So all day I sat with my door open and chatted with strange wealthy people coming in and out. One of them stopped and told me I had the cleanest apartment of the 3. Which shocked me a little. I asked what the others were like. He said, "Well, how do I say this? It seems they have about 8 cats that stink like hell. And something that looks like a cereal shrine. There is a table with about 20 cereal boxes in a circle. Surrounding a glass pitcher of milk. It's freaky. I never got around to seeing this. But I love that description." I have this one friend who always complains about not having enough money. The fact he's always talking about it is a little annoying, but understandable. Seeing we're both just uni students, I went over to his place one day to hang out, and it was the first time I've ever been there. Firstly, there was stuff everywhere. Aside from the floor, there was not a single uncovered surface in the house. That's not the weird part though. It's a mess. But I've seen that before. What was really weird was the amount of $50 bills just lying around everywhere. There were more of these bills next to the TV, in the kitchen, and sticking out from behind furniture than I even have. Like, they weren't in one place or anything. There'd have to be at least $1,000 in randomly placed cash. TL. DR. Broke friend has so much cash randomly lying around his house. He could be an unorganized drug dealer. Time to visit him way more. But with gum all over your shoes. It was the first time I ever slept over at a friend's house. Think I was in kindergarten or first grade. When it was bedtime, his parents gave us empty cups with removable caps on them. I asked my friend what they were for, and he said for peeing. Apparently his parents didn't like the idea of their kids wandering around the house at night to go to the bathroom. So we peed in cups and emptied them in the toilet in the morning. His parents were selling the clean pee to people who had to pass drug tests. When I was a kid, there was a boy named Jeremy in our apartment complex. I was 9 and he was a year older than I. One day he invites me over to his place to check out his comics. When I walked in the front door, his father was sitting in his recliner watching TV. I walked up to say hi to him and didn't realize until it was too late that his father was completely naked. I was pretty shocked and taken off guard by it. When we went upstairs, I asked Jeremy, "Why is your dad naked?" He said his dad was always naked. I never went over to Jeremy's place again. Carpet in the bathroom. It just makes no sense. Went to an open house in my town. Realtor told us that the couple were getting a divorce. The man had left his wife. She was a bit strange. So we make our way up to the master bedroom, and the only piece of decor was a long glass display case like you might use to showcase a model ship or car. It was about 2 feet long and 8 inches square. Inside was something that looked like a ticker tape rolled up at one end and pulled across the length of the case. It was a life monitor readout that slowly flatlined to the end. Across the bottom of the case was displayed a ponytail, with a good sized section of the scalp still attached to it. Totally morbid. We noped the hell out of there. Found out later that the daughter of the couple had been killed by a drunk driver. The wife went a little batty and drove her husband away. I stayed at an Airbnb in Paris that had naked portraits of the male gay host hung up all over the walls. The bedroom itself was like a kinky sex den. It had a disco ball, heart-shaped pillows and zebra print everything. The weirdest part was that the host slept on the floor of the kitchen while I stayed there, because clearly I was staying in his normal bedroom. Family getting along. I've posted about this once before. 12-year-old me was having dinner at a friend's house. One of the cats was walking around in the dining room table. When it started eating off my plate, I gently nudged it away. I really like cats and animals in general. I wasn't angry, but I didn't want cat spit on my food. My friend's mom completely lost it. She was screaming at me for, and I quote, interfering with the free choices of another sentient being. She scared me half to death and I apologized, but she was still yelling. It was surprising to me because they seemed like a normal suburban family. The house was clean and so on. That point you smash your plate on the floor and dare her to interfere with the free choices of another sentient being. I was asked to do dishes at a place I was staying. No problem. Loaded up normal dishes in the washer and started it. Then started cleaning the pots in the sink. The kitchen flooded and I got yelled at, as a grown adult, by another adult. I was pissed, because everyone knows the kitchen floods if you run the sink and the dishwasher at the same time, and the other people in the house berated me for being so stupid. I have done dishes like this a ton of times before and never flooded anything. And I've done it at other houses since then and never flooded. Even in my damn apartment it wasn't a problem. I was sent to a new customer's home by my boss to install some lights and ceiling fans. First thing I noticed was the house was kind of smelly. Like old food. Nasty but no big deal. Then I walked into the living room and noticed the large bones on the floor. Apparently the family would sit around and gnaw on the bones while they watched TV. Downstairs I saw a bunch of hunting gear. Bows and rifles. I guess that's where the bones came from. Hoping it was animals. Porcelain dolls. There were a lot of them and they were propped up almost anywhere. On the piano. By the couch. On the dinner table. I was in New Zealand and it my first time going to a white person's house. I thought all white folks loved dolls like they did for a while. I used to fix TVs for Samsung. In people's homes. I've seen some shitty. It doesn't matter who you are or how you live. If you bought one and it dies under warranty. One place was a big Victorian house. I'm let in and see no sheetrock or plaster on the walls. Just the insulation paper between the studs. The stud all had those little nails that used to hold the lathe. The ones that are very time consuming to remove and prevent actually nailing up some sheetrock. On these nails were hung all sorts of decorations. Christmas lights. Doll heads. Mardi Gras beads. etc. covering the walls and ceiling. Full-size inflated Santa in the corner. Huge 6 feet long fish tank. And a full-grown live pig under the kitchen table. A lady was reading the paper and rubbing the pig's belly. Little girl playing some computer game among the doll heads like it's all cool. Whiskey, for cough syrup purposes, on the back porch because it's a sin to have liquor in the house. Saw this on more than one occasion growing up in an extremely Southern Baptist small town. My grandpa's house. It has 2 full equipped kitchens. One next to the other. It also has a confessional in a room he used as a library. Was your grandpa Jewish? I've heard of some conservative Jews who have 2 kitchens. One for meat and one for dairy. Someone keeping chips in their fridge. Never taking the Christmas tree down and just decorating it for other holidays. In my bathroom I keep a real dog skull which I picked up one day. Apparently a leopard prowled the area where I went jogging. My bathroom is arranged such that you can't see the skull on entering. Natural laxative. A giant DLDO hanging in her shower. I used to have some friends that lived in the dirtiest, most squalid conditions I have seen in my life. They never cleaned their house. Like ever. There was trash all over. One time Thea friend came over and was sick and ended up puking on the couch, floor, and heater vent. They just threw a towel over it. The guy would frequently jack off at random times in the living room. To his credit he would warn you if you were there, but it was just that. A warning. I am going to jack off for a while, so if you don't want to see it then you should go outside for a while he is getting the lube and opening up PRN tabs on his computer. They also had ferrets and a cat which only added to the smell and general disgustingness. The bathroom sink was not visible due to all the makeup, pencil shavings, hair, and fake blood all over. The tub was black. They hung black sheets on the walls which the cat would sometimes climb. Completely gross. Then they asked if they could live with me for a while and were offended when I said no. This whole thread is making me feel like I'm actually not that weird and I'm fairly normal. My mom had a friend that lived up the road that was an ex-pole dancer that gave pole dancing lessons. She lived in a nice double wide trailer with a really nice room with stage, 2 poles, lights, fogger, full bar. It was a nice setup. That's not the part that was weird. You know those Christmas towns they sell at Hallmark or whatever? She had a huge Halloween one set up. A dozen little haunted houses and 100 little creepy figurines. In the middle of summer. And it was very well done. She was very proud of the tiny figure of Dracula bathing in blood. It was cool but odd. She was like a grandma showing off her little collection.